Hello, you guys hear me? So my name is Karen, and today I'm going to talk to you about visual abstracts. So I'm a senior medical illustrator and manager at the JAMA network, which is a family of 13 peer-reviewed medical journals, including the Journal of the American Medical Association, or JAMA, which I'm going to focus on today. So I think you've probably all heard of JAMA, but just in case, we are a weekly publication for medical research, and currently the most widely circulated print medical journal in the world. So I'm part of the Department of Editorial Graphics. Here we are on the masthead, which is currently comprised of 4 medical illustrators with master's degrees in medical and scientific illustration. So our department is responsible for the creation of all medical illustration, editorial illustration, scientific illustration, editorial tables and algorithms, theme issue covers, and JAMA patient pages for JAMA, but also for the specialty journals of the JAMA network. So what's important to note here is that we have editorial power. We work closely with our authors and editors to turn their submitted figures into well-organized, cohesive, didactic figures with a clear purpose and message. But today I'm here to talk about visual abstracts. So I'm going to briefly touch on the history of visual abstracts, how we use visual abstracts, or our visual and editorial expertise to develop visual abstracts at JAMA, and how we envision that they will be further developed at the JAMA network. So one important thing to clarify here is the difference between a graphical abstract and a visual abstract. So the terms are sometimes used interchangeably, but here we are going to denote that a graphical abstract is self-contained. It's a single panel visual that's designed to give readers an immediate understanding of the take-home message of the paper. And they're sometimes published in print, but always in the web versions of the journals. So journal families such as Cell Press and Life Sciences invite their authors to design and submit graphical abstracts that are published alongside the article with the intention of attracting the audience more quickly than written text. So the visual abstract is also self-contained, but it's typically designed as a multi-paneled visual summary of the full content of a paper's abstract. So visual abstracts were developed to be almost exclusively utilized in social media, especially on Twitter and Facebook, although their usage is expanding. So this is a really typical visual abstract that you would see on Twitter. They were originally the brainchild of Dr. Andrew Ibrahim, who was then working as the creative director at Annals of Surgery. Annals published their first visual abstract for social media on Twitter in July of 2016, and over the next 6 months, they conducted a case control crossover study of 44 original research articles. So each article was tweeted from the Annals of Surgery Twitter account in 2 different formats, once with the article title only and once with the accompanying visual abstract, and the results were astounding. Tweets that included a visual abstract averaged over 23,000 impressions and 92 retweets versus 3,000 impressions and 11 retweets without. Article visits increased threefold, and Dr. Ibrahim published these data in Annals of Surgery. The research worlds took note, and by March of 2017, over 20 journals, organizations, and institutions had started publishing visual abstracts on their own social media platforms. So Dr. Ibrahim has since published an open source primer on how to create a visual abstract, which is readily available at surgeryredesign.com. JAMA's path to developing a visual abstract actually began between Cell's graphical abstract development, which started in 2010, and the first tweeted visual abstract in 2016. And our initial plan was to create something more similar to the graphical abstract that is used by the Cell publications. So in 2014, we mulled over 2 big ideas. Our first was to create a full-page original illustrations that depicted basic science concepts to further enhance the content of our original investigations. And the second one was to create full-page graphical abstracts created by our illustration team, in contrast to those author-created graphical abstracts published in other journals. Both concepts relied heavily on the visual expertise and storytelling skills of the medical illustrators, rather than asking authors to provide content. This would hopefully lead to a more clarity and visual appeal and a cohesive branded appearance for our journal. However, the desire to keep this in-house had 2 really huge obstacles. The first was that our department at the time only had 2 medical illustrators, and as you might remember, we're also responsible for all of the other illustrated content in a weekly journal. And the second obstacle is time. So the median time from an article's acceptance to its publication date currently at JAMA is a little over a month, with the content actually going to the printer about 2.5 weeks after that acceptance date. So the time is just not available to create a full-page original illustration on complicated, novel, scientific, and medical topics. So we shelved this concept of visual summaries for articles until 2017, when the editors first noticed visual abstracts really taking off on social media. So they came to the senior medical illustrators, who are Andy Riccido and myself, and they asked us to explore the implementation of visual abstracts for randomized clinical trials published in JAMA. So we reviewed Dr. Ibrahim's primer, but wanted to make some tweaks to create our own version of visual abstracts that would have consistent content and a flow of information, as well as a branded appearance. So between us, Andy and I have a few decades of experience in design and illustration workflow. We found several aspects of the basic visual abstract that could be improved. So we suggested to our editors some stipulations that would help increase the JAMA visual abstract's chances of success. The first is that the visual abstracts published in JAMA should be created by our medical illustrators. Research authors, who are typically MDs and PhDs, are huge experts in medicine and science, but they may lack that experience in visual storytelling and hierarchy. We felt that the visual abstract design should be templated. In order to add one or two of these to our weekly workload, we need the ability to create one of these in 1 to 2 hours from start to finish. So by removing the need to start from scratch each time, this becomes more likely. The third is that it needs to include accurate visuals. While our icon library is based on attractive yet simple designs, we are sticklers for medical and anatomical accuracy. Brains don't look like cauliflowers, and no backwards T a day. JAMA is a highly regarded academic peer-reviewed journal, and we want this to come across in our visual abstracts. Good branded design. We wanted these to be instantly recognizable as JAMA visual abstracts. So the bulk of the work in our development process really came down to its design. And here I'm going to quickly run through some of the various iterations that we came upon during our design process. So we had some limitations in that we wanted to stick with the JAMA font and color family. We wanted to retain the typical visual abstract 16:9 aspect ratio used on social media. And eventually we settled on a design that is reminiscent of our cover layout. So here you can see the JAMA cover versus our final visual abstract design. And finally, all of the content is written by our in-house staff of editors or myself in order to maintain a consistent voice. I created an editable, that's a hard word to say, editable PDF with character limits that's filled out and sent to us to trigger the creation process. And just as we have editorial power over the illustrations in JAMA, Andy and I have editorial power over the content of the visual abstracts. So we strive to make the language consistent and simplified in order to ease the reader's cognitive load. So after about 1.5 years of design development and working to add this to our publication workflow, our first visual abstract was published online and in social media on July 3rd of 2018. This is the very first one. These are online only. They do not appear in the printed journal. We have since published about 1 to 2 visual abstracts per issue of JAMA, again, for those randomized clinical trials. And we've also tracked the data and clicks associated with visual abstracts. So we compared 21 clinical trials published with visual abstracts and 21 without in the same time frame of 2018. The average usage, which is defined as HTML clicks plus PDF downloads, was about twice for those with a visual abstract versus without, at 18,000 usages versus 9,000. And the altmetric score, which measures article views, media reports, and social media usage, improved from 231 for trials without a visual abstract to 283 with. So our visual abstracts are now being used on Facebook and Twitter and our brand new Instagram account. And we receive regular reports from our editors that they are used in author presentations around the world. So the workflow expanding visual abstracts to the full journal network has taken a lot of different paths. It's still under development, so I don't have information I can really share readily. But it's much different challenge, as the volume of articles increases dramatically when you're looking at 13 journals versus 1 journal. Eventually, we hope to expand beyond randomized clinical trials, but this will require a tweak to our template and probably more manpower. So coincidentally, in the time between submitting this talk to SciViz and now, Dr. Ibrahim, our friend, he was hired as an editor at JAMA, so now he's one of my colleagues as we work to expand these to the full JAMA network. So I want to say thank you to SciViz and my colleague Andy, who's here with me, so thank you very much.